Hello, in today's video, we're going to take a look at our telephone and web encounters. We'll be able to access any telephone or web encounters that have been assigned to us that we need to review by going to our T Jellybean. When we click on our T Jellybean, it will show us a combination of telephone and web encounters. We can quickly look at our web encounters by locating the little screen icon here to the front, which will let us know that it is a web encounter. Anything that doesn't have that icon will be our telephone encounter. Now, telephone encounters can be used to document information when a patient calls our office, or if our office calls a patient for more information, we'll be able to go ahead and document that into a telephone encounter. Web encounters will flow in whenever we have a message or an item coming from our patient portal side. So the patient might send a practice a message, or we might have some demographic information that needs to be verified. And you can learn more about that from our patient portal video. Now from this screen, we're going to see some filters to the top. So currently here, I'm looking by all providers, but if I did want to filter by individual provider, I'll be able to do so by selecting the drop-down menu. I also have the option of looking based on assigned to. Now by default, it will be based on the signed in user. So if I want to look at just my items, any telephone or web encounters that have been assigned, I'll go ahead and populate my username here. However, if you were managing other users and had proper permissions, you could go ahead and see their names here. Or for me right now, I'm just going to look by all. And then lastly, I can filter by facility. And I'm just going to leave it at all here and click the filter button. Once I do so, I'll see my information filter down here to the bottom, and I can quickly access any one of these items just by clicking on the name. If I did need to make a brand new telephone encounter, I would do that by going here to the right-hand side, clicking on New, and selecting Telephone Encounter. Or if I did need to make a new web encounter, I can choose the option below it. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and create a new telephone encounter. The first thing a telephone encounter needs is a patient's name. We have to tell the system who this telephone encounter belongs to. So this is going to be for my patient, Maddie Tays here. Once I select the patient's name, it will populate who it's answered by based on the logged in user. I can indicate the caller. Sometimes they may not be the actual patient, but just maybe a spouse or a family member. In this case, we'll indicate Maddie did call. And what's the reason for this call? Well, if I have any pre-built reasons, I can select them from the drop-down menu, or you can always free text into this field as well if need be. So Maddie has some questions and also wants a refill on our current medication. The date and time populate when we created the telephone encounter. The assigned to field will be the user that gets this telephone encounter in their T Jellybean. So currently it's assigned to me, but if I did need to assign it to someone else for review, I can go ahead and select that staff member or provider from the drop-down menu. I can also indicate the provider associated here. The facility here is going to be my default facility, my pharmacy for the patient, if they do have any pharmacy information populating patient demographics. And then currently the status is going to be set to open. We will only address this when we're completed with the telephone encounter from beginning to finish. And if we wanted to address the telephone encounter along with documents that might be attached with the telephone encounter, we could choose this radio button here. But for right now, we're going to leave it open. Now we notice that there is several different tabs on this blue bar. The first tab is going to be the message. What do we talk to the patient about during this telephone encounter? So I'm going to indicate that Maddie would like a refill on her medication and has questions about office hours. Now once we put the message in, we can also indicate actions taken. So maybe we did perform the medication refill ourselves, or we answered the questions. I'll be able to go ahead and indicate action taken. If I have any pre-built keywords, I can utilize that, or I can free text here and I'll indicate that questions have been answered. And I'll click OK. Another tab that we have is our RX tab. The RX tab will let us actually see the current medications for the patient, or if we need to add a new medication in, we'll be able to do that right from here. So I'm going to go into current RX, and I'm going to go ahead and select the current medication that Maddie would like to refill. In this case, she needs a refill on her Celebrex for her back pain. So I'm just going to indicate here 30-day refill by clicking on the 30. And then once I click OK, we can see that it populates here underneath the medications. If I did need to edit any SIG information, I can go ahead and click on it and it'll take me to the edit screen. Now, if I did have proper permission within my workflow in mid-office, if I wanted to go ahead and send the script out by e-prescription, I can do that or print it. Or if I do need further review by another provider, I could assign it to he or she in the T Jellybean. We also do have our interaction checks, allergy interaction checks, and RX external history, and the ability to check RX eligibility to see which medications may be covered by the patient's insurance policy. The labs and DI will give us a quick view of labs and diagnostic imaging orders that the patient has, and if the results have been received, what was the result, have they been reviewed. So if a patient did call and wanted to know maybe their results for their glucose lab, I can quickly see here that it was normal and it has been reviewed. Notes is going to be an open field here that I can type in any notes that I want to keep along with the telephone encounter. Addendum would open up here once the telephone encounter has been addressed. It would allow us to addendum information into the telephone encounter. Log history is keeping track of all the different information within the telephone encounter, who's inputting information, what actions have been taken, who's addressed the telephone encounter. So that will all stay within the log history. And then we have our virtual visit tab. Our virtual visit tab will show us the information that we populated so far within the telephone encounter. And then if we scroll down a little further, we're going to see our SOAP note. Subjective, objective, assessment, and plan sections are available. And I can click on any of the hyperlinks to document any additional information. We can see here within the treatment section, I do have my Celebrex that I did go ahead and refill for Maddie. To the bottom of the screen, we will see some additional buttons. We can access our print script options or sending the medications. I can print reports or view progress note style view for the telephone encounter. And on the right-hand side, we have our interactive chart wizard. The interactive chart wizard can be collapsed if we want to go ahead and have a little bit more space by using the left arrow here. And if we click the downward arrow, it can go ahead and display the patient dashboard here. So we have our patient dashboard similar to what we see within the progress note display. But again, if we do want to collapse it, I'll just click the upward arrow now, and it's going to give us a little bit more of a cleaner view of the telephone encounter screen. Now, once it's assigned to a user and I click OK, that user will see it in the Jellybean. So we can see now that I do have additional item in my T Jellybean. And once I click on it, I'll see that I do have to take care of this telephone encounter for Maddie Tays. Now let's go ahead and quickly jump into a web encounter here. I'm going to click on my test patient here, and we'll notice that within the web encounter screen, it looks very similar to a telephone encounter screen. It's pretty much identical. We have the ability here now to reply to the patient as well for the web encounter. So I did get a message from a patient from Patient Portal saying that they need an appointment. And so I can go ahead and click on Reply to Patient now, and it's going to go ahead and open up my e-message option. From here, I'll be able to construct a brand new message to send to the patient via Portal. Or if I do have any existing templates available, I'll be able to go ahead and select them to populate my information. This concludes our video for our telephone and web encounters. Thank you for watching.